guys. So, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about our emotions because I highly value mental health. I think it's extremely, extremely important. It seems to be a more prevalent topic nowadays, but I still think it's not talked about enough. It's not normalized enough how we discuss our feelings, even having emotions and feeling like they're something we can express. These are God given, God given emotions. We are given emotions for a reason. God made us with emotions. And I went to a girls group that I attend normally or regularly, and you guys are getting a kitty visit. She's very needy today. Anyways, so I was listening to one of the pastors' wives in our church give a message. She gives really good messages for the ladies, and it's just really valuable and really important. And this information is not just for the women. But I was sitting there with a bunch of women, about 17 of us actually. It was a really good turnout tonight, and we were able to be vulnerable with our feelings. And discussing things and processing why we feel a certain way and how to handle those in a healthy way. So basically what I was saying is like we have feelings. God gave us feelings, and the world tells us to like shove it. Like you can't be angry, you can't be sad, you can't feel anxious. Like don't express that. I don't have time to deal with that. I don't want to hear it because I don't know how to deal with my own stuff. And that's why I'm here. Guys, this is like a passion of mine to talk about mental health. And I'm relating it into the Christian community. I feel like as Christians, we're representing, I mean, that's our job, to be a healthy role model to the world because we're in relation with Christ, who is the perfect role model of what love is and what love is essentially love. God is love, and when we love, we are healthy, and we're loving others and we're loving ourselves. So because we have emotions, we gotta. This was what blew my mind today. It was like, God has emotions towards us too. So if God can have emotions, and He gave us emotions, they're there for a reason. Should we let our emotions run us? No, because just because we have an emotion doesn't necessarily mean we need to let it take over our day, our lives, let it manipulate or determine the actions we take all the time, because emotions are fleeting. And so that's what I wanted to talk about, like what emotions are. I want to start off by saying your emotions, your feelings are always valid. They're always valid. It is okay. You are feeling something for a reason. And when we take that feeling and stop and go, wait a minute, let me analyze this. What am I feeling? And why am I feeling that? We're able to step back, take ourselves out of that situation, out of that feeling, and process what we need and how to get it. So when we're thinking of emotions, the girls and I were listing off a whole bunch of emotions and feelings and whatever. We had this whole piece of paper covered with all these emotions, and we're sitting there like, wow, that's a lot of things we could feel, and I'm sure we didn't even touch on all of them. But there's 6 primary feelings: sadness, anger, surprise, fear, disgust, and shame. And we had mentioned love as a feeling, and actually the pastor's wife, Catherine, she was like, love is actually not an emotion, because it embodies all of the emotions. It's more of a way of being. Like, you can love somebody and be angry at them. She gave the example of, like, if you're a mother and your child runs out into the street, you're gonna be, first off, like, fearful and then angry. But you're gonna be angry because the child made you fearful for their life, like, but that's not a bad emotion. Like, that's a normal emotion to be frustrated with your child for putting its life in danger and making you feel fear that you know what I mean, the situation was out of your control, and that your child, your beloved, in a dangerous situation. So things like that, like, we could be frustrated with our partner, or we could be feeling scared, we could be anxious. Like, all these things can still be related to loving someone, or needing love ourselves. So basically, like, emotions are really short-lived, but love is not. Love is long. Love is an action. Love is a way of being. So we can still love, but we have all these feelings, and we have to analyze what they mean and how to utilize them to, first off, get your needs met, and communicate to whoever you're in relationship, whether it's a family member, a friend, a spouse, a sibling, whatever, family member, what we're trying to portray to them, because we value a relationship. So we can touch on shame, because shame's a big one. Shame usually stems from childhood. It usually starts really early on, and it drives how you engage with people, and it happens often. We're human. We might think we've got everything together, and then all of a sudden there's something that comes up from our past, and we're like, what? I thought I dealt with this. So we were talking about how you overcome shame, because when you feel shame, it's like, like I said, it's how you engage with people. So, like, if I feel shameful about this feeling that I have, I may not want to communicate with you that feeling, because it brings shame to me. It might bring embarrassment, discomfort, and then I don't want to be open with you because I feel that, so I avoid it. But that's the thing, is the way to overcome the shame is by being vulnerable, and owning up to what you're feeling, which is something that I've gotten to be really good at. I'm very quick to say sorry. I'm very quick to say I was wrong. I'm very quick to say, hey, this is how I'm feeling, and I want you to know, because I care about you and I value our relationship. And if I don't communicate this with you, you won't know how I'm feeling, and you might not ever know how to love me correctly, because I didn't tell you that the way you were treating me or acting, or something you said bothered me and hurt me, or something you did was crossing my boundaries. Something I've learned recently is boundaries. Boundaries are something I didn't have too many of. I was a people pleaser. I just thought that I would make everybody happy, and then that would make me happy, because I wouldn't have to deal with somebody being upset with me, or thinking that my way of living was weird or inconvenient to them, because I set standards for myself. And so sometimes I just let those go. I would be like, oh, well, I guess, I want to have fun and be included and liked. But it's like, when you don't have the boundaries, you disrespect yourself. So boundaries are really a way to love somebody. When you value a relationship with somebody, you tell them what your boundaries are, because boundaries are keeping somebody in. Hey, I didn't like what you did the other day. That's not something that is okay with me. Can we please not do that? Or could you please not do that again? You could say something like that and communicate that, like, hey, because I value our relationship, I just wanted to let you know that that's how this is affecting me, and I didn't like it. And then that person can go, oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry, and be aware of it, and not do that again, and not cause that problem in your relationship. And because you told that person, hey, this is how I need to be loved, and that wasn't it, now they know how to love you better. And that allows people in. Being vulnerable allows the people that you love and cherish and care about into your life. When you set a wall, like when you just, hide and run away from your emotions and your feelings, that's not letting anybody in. And then you sit there in your emotions and you're steaming and you're upset and you're resentful because you're holding on to something you're not expressing, and then you're angry at that other person because they don't know, because you didn't tell them. So vulnerability is not something you give everybody. You can give people vulnerability like in increments, like surface level things you could be a little more vulnerable with. Like if you want a real relationship, you have to be vulnerable. And if you start with something small to test the waters, to see how somebody's going to react to what you said, something that's not going to really cut you deep, I'm trying to think of an example, but just like I'm saying, like something that's not going to bother you, because that could be different from me to you. And start being vulnerable with people first, because you're offering a part of yourself, you're offering what you want back, vulnerability. And if that person receives that vulnerability and what they do with what you told them, like they don't go and gossip, or they don't respond to you in a negative way, or they constantly like give you advice or tell you what to do or whatever, or you want somebody to just kind of listen. You can communicate, hey, I just want advice, or hey, I just want you to hear what I have to say. Depending on how they respond to what you're saying, and if you feel safe with that response, then you can continue to build vulnerability. If you feel like somebody's not offering you vulnerability in return, you can say that too. You can say, hey, look, I really want to get to know you and deepen our friendship and our connection, but I feel like you're not being vulnerable with me. This is something I learned in my counseling too, and the example was that somebody was like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize I wasn't being vulnerable. Vulnerability is really hard for me. Like, I want to be vulnerable. I can work on that now that you brought it to my attention, because I didn't realize that you thought I was just being really surface level and you didn't feel like you knew me. So that's what vulnerability is. It's like getting to know somebody. So you test the waters. Like if you are talking to somebody and they're not receiving your vulnerability very well, then you can appropriately place that person in your life. They may not be in your inner circle. They may not even be a friend. They might be an acquaintance. And you can say that, hey, I just feel like it would be better for us to, be acquaintances, because that's just safer for me. That's, I'm not receiving what I need from you to be that intimate. We can always work on those things, but if this is how it's going to be, then we're just acquaintances, or we're just casual friends, not somebody that you invest your whole heart into. Now, when you want to invest your heart into somebody, like family member or spouse or whatever, then that's where the vulnerability needs to be on a deeper level. So you want to tell your story with your vulnerability. Like that's your job. Like you may not want somebody else, you may not want your spouse telling a vulnerable story about you, but you're the one who needs to tell your story. So I'm just going through my notes here. Okay. So basically, I covered most of the notes. When you're being vulnerable with a person, you're giving them the gift of you. You're giving them the opportunity to have feedback from you and know you and develop a relationship with them further. You're giving them the opportunity to be a safe place, to be who you are, and for them to be who they are, and for you guys to truly have an authentic relationship that feels safe. Hang on here. Anyways, an example they gave was like, you don't want to hold your feelings like pets. Like, I don't want like just my little pet of like resentment that I just hold on to. Like, I just thought that was kind of funny, but it's like, you don't want to hold on to these things. And talking about resentment, this one's an interesting one. Resentment, I think, can come really easily. And like I said, resentment comes from just not expressing what you need, what you're feeling. You don't necessarily even have to express these things to somebody. Number one, go to God. It's always go to God with your feelings first, God, I'm feeling a certain way. Why? What is that? What's the root of this? And you can ask your heart, like literally put your hand on your heart and sit there and think, when did I first start feeling like this? Like you really do have an inner child, and we call it an inner child because there was a part of you, a childlike part of you, that didn't know how to process this hurt and pain and information that came into your life, and it needs nurturing. And so, as an older version of yourself, you can go back and go, hey, okay, I remember feeling like that. Like, wow, that must have been really scary for me. But I can see, the situation more clearly now that I'm in the future, and I just need to love on myself. Like, what would I do if I was, you know, if a child was in front of me feeling these things that I'm feeling in my heart? How would I comfort that child? How would I want to be comforted? And then you got to comfort yourself. Like, there needs to be healing within yourself. That's something I had to learn too. I had to go through tough conversations with my parents, with some of my family members. I had to, tell my brother, hey, I feel like I'm getting distant from you, and I don't think you realize it, but I just really want to be close with you. And what did my brother say? Oh, of course, I want to be close with you too, and we've been texting more often. Just little things like that. Like, life gets busy. Sometimes we don't always think about the people in our lives and how important we are to them versus where we put them in importance in our head as well, and what we have going on and what we're capable of giving. So basically what I'm saying is, like, I had to work through my resentments. I didn't even know I had resentments. I didn't even know, like, I was aware that I felt a certain way towards people, but I didn't have a term to, like, put to it. I was resentful because I wasn't feeling heard. I wasn't feeling validated. I was feeling lack. And I was being guarded, and just trampled over all the time. And so I finally just had to come to a place where I was like, look, I want relationship. I love you. I care about you. And something's not right here. And have some tough conversations. Conversations that were uncomfortable, ugly. Some of them were loud. Some of them were me crying. Or some of them were me just going, you're not hearing me. But I have to say, because I was able to step out of me, and see the whole picture, and then analyze my feelings, and have a conversation where the back and forth vulnerability came, and get healing from my pain, and an understanding from the people who hurt me of why they hurt me and why they acted a certain way, and for me to tell them why I acted a certain way. And it's like people don't do things to you. They do things for themselves. And so out of our selfishness, we hurt people. But I know we also live in a crazy world where we try to protect ourselves, and we can have boundaries. That's okay. It's just being smart about how you treat people as well. Like, communication is love. You always want to, judge and weigh out a situation. You don't always have to tell somebody how you're feeling. You don't. You can process that information, and if you're able to process that information and go, oh, I'm feeling that way because this, and then go to the Lord, and the Lord's like, hey, I can fill that need. You're looking to people to fill your need, but I've got that for you. The Lord has everything for you. So honestly, just being in the Lord is going to fulfill those needs. But then again, there's those needs for, that the desires that God put in your heart too, to have a spouse or to have kids or to do this sport or whatever. And God will lead you into those things as well. But when we put our validation into somebody and we have expectations of them, especially expectations that we didn't communicate, we get let down and we get hurt, and then we get bitter, and then we close up and put those walls up, and we can't have any real authentic relationships with people because we're so afraid of being hurt. Don't hurt me. If I tell you this, you might not like me. If I tell you I don't like that, oh, you might not like me. And rejection's ugly, yeah. Do I still fear being rejected? Yeah. Do I put myself out there on the internet? Yeah. And I'm getting used to it, and I'm getting it's like the more you do it, the more you put yourself out there, the more you practice this communicating stuff, you build confidence. You know who you are, you know what you want, you know what you like, and you know how to kindly say it to somebody. You don't have to be mean. I know a lot of people are fearful that, oh, well, if I say this or I say that, they're not going to like me, or they're gonna think I'm mean, or they're not, all these thoughts. Yeah, I've been there. Do I still struggle with that? Yeah. Do I like confrontation? No. Will I have it? Heck yeah, because I've been through it. I've been through so many scenarios and situations where I have had to stand up for myself and say, I've had enough. I need to communicate, put my foot down. And I'll tell you what, when I put my foot down, things change. Things get better. Is it hard sometimes? Yeah. But God always makes a way. And it's like, he wants you to value yourself too. He wants you to be able to be bold. And being bold is sometimes being assertive in what you stand for. And that's what the world needs from Christians, or people who can. My cat is nudging on my thing right now. Could you not be hungry? She's always hungry, and she's always rubbing her face against something to tell me she's hungry. We need to be bold in our faith. We need to be assertive. We need to be good communicators, because that's just love. That's a good example. I don't think you're really seeing Jesus out of somebody who's resentful and walled up and hiding, or angry or bitter. You're not going to see it. Resentment is premeditated suffering. How about that, right? It's like you anticipating that someone's going to hurt you in some way. And that's just like, it hasn't even happened. It's like we cause our own suffering by anticipating that someone's going to hurt us because we expressed a feeling. So we have to ask ourselves, like, what are you envying? What is it that you really want that you're not getting, and why are you resentful? That's the thing. What are you not getting? What need are you needing fulfilled? We kind of did a little exercise here. I didn't really feel like I had anything to contribute to this exercise because I've been practicing this and I've been pretty good with my relationships. I don't really have anyone right now that comes to mind to fit this exercise. But we got into groups and we talked with each other, and I talked with another girl about her situation. So one thing there are a few questions that we wanted to ask, like, so write down the name of a person that you've been avoiding was the first thing. Name a person that you've been avoiding feedback from at their detriment, which means like you're not communicating with this person, and maybe you really want this person in your life, but you're just not communicating with them, and you're causing that wall to build up, and you're not able to get the fullness of that relationship that you desire because you're not being honest with them. And then name a person that you need to own something with. So say you did something wrong. Did you have an offense towards them? Did you act a certain way towards them? Did you Did you express an opinion or an emotion in a way that wasn't very beneficial to the relationship? So owning our actions is the first step of vulnerability too. So then when you're able to connect with this person and talk about this, you can decide what you want to do with that relationship. Like I said before, like, how do they respond? What do you want to do with it? Are they going to be in your inner circle? Like, you don't want anyone in your inner circle who's not extremely valuable to you and trustworthy and valuing who you are as a person in return. You can even push parents. They don't have to be in your inner circle. Yes, they're your family. Yes, we are to be respectful to our parents, but they do not need to be in your inner circle. Siblings don't need to be in your inner circle. It just depends on what your scenario is like. I'm fortunate to be able to have my family and my brother in my inner circle because I have a good relationship with them, and they're able to have one with me in return. That's something I've worked on. And I just am grateful that God put me in a family that does know Jesus and is able to practice these things in their own life too. We're not perfect. We have moments, but it's come to the place where I can go, hey, I'm just feeling a certain way, and this is why I'm feeling this way, and I was upset by something you did, and, why did that happen? How can we come to a conclusion so I can understand this better? Because I want relationship with you. Like, those hard conversations are still hard, but they're not that hard. They're more normal now. And I've even seen my family reach out to me in response or for advice and stuff too, because I've been open and I've been able to take the time to develop myself and do counseling and go through programs and be around people who are educated in mental health and communication. I've watched videos, like I researched a whole bunch of stuff, dating and relationship, all sorts of things, because this is my calling. My calling is to speak into the world, how to communicate, how to take care of yourself, all sorts of things. Like even when it comes to exercise and eating better, sleep, sunshine. Like I'm serious, guys. I know I made that video probably a month ago about me changing up my lifestyle, and I have felt the best ever. I'm just taking vitamins and getting out there and just really doing the natural things that the Lord gave us. Like, you know what I mean? Whole foods, sunshine, exercise, communicating, being with people, enjoying our hobbies and our pursuits. I have never felt so good in my life. Do I have struggles? Do I have days where, my thyroid condition affects me? Yes. But for the most part, I'm telling you, the more you dig in to the Lord and doing those things and stepping in the purpose, it just comes and goes. It comes and it goes really quick. Even yesterday, I woke up and I wasn't feeling good. I had something on my mind. I had a little bit of a breakdown. I was like, Lord, these emotions are really, really hard for me to handle, and they're really, like, harmful. I could feel them surging through my body. I was like, you need to do something, and I'm giving them to you. Please take it. Didn't take very long, maybe a few minutes, and I was, like, back to my normal self. Had a great day. Amazing. So, another thing was, what are you committed to with this person? So if one person fit any of those questions I had, or just there were different people, like what do you want with this person? Like what are you willing to put forward into this? Do you want clarity? Do you want connection? Do you want appreciation? And then you're responsible for walking in your truth. You're not responsible for how they react. You are responsible for how you communicate with them and being vulnerable and telling them how you feel. But you're not responsible if they don't react the way that you would like them to react. That might be a reflection of themselves. You know, what they got going on in them. And some people can only give you so much. Some people only have so much to give. Some people don't know how to love a certain way because they've never been loved that way before. And that's why when you take the step to love somebody in a way that they have never been loved, that's an eye-opener to them too. That's like a healing to their heart. And they finally can go, wow, nobody's ever loved me like that. And they can receive that and love in return. All of this boils down to love. This whole page is about love, guys. Loving on just your body, your health, your friends, your family, anybody, everybody. When you're okay with who you are, this is the biggest lesson I've ever learned in my life. And it's been a little bit of a process. And it took quite a while to get here. 27 years. I had to learn how to love myself and be loved by God so that I can finally say I am healthy. I am healthy mentally, and I'm working on my body physically. I want that. I want that more than anything, because I want to be an able body to continue to give messages and to spread light and to listen and to validate people and to encourage and to guide and teach. So we reap what we sow. If we want vulnerability and we give vulnerability, we usually get vulnerability. But if we're closed up, nobody's going to know who you are. Nobody's going to know how to love you. Nobody's going to know what you need. So they're going to think you're closed up, and they're not going to want to talk to you. So the importance of being vulnerable in baby steps, it's important. Nobody needs to know everything. God's your number one confidant. If you have a spouse, that's your number 2 confidant. And then you choose from there. It doesn't have to be your kids. It doesn't have to be your siblings. It's just, who you've made a safe place with and who's made a safe place for you in return. And then if you really want to act on those things that I asked you, like Who have you been avoiding? Who do you need to own something with? Set yourself a date. Set yourself a goal in mind to have a conversation with somebody. Scary as it is, it'll be really beneficial to you guys, to go ahead and make those changes in your life. And if you don't want to have that conversation with somebody and you've just been okay with letting that relationship go, get into a place where you're comfortable with yourself and how you handled that situation. And if you have to communicate with that person one more time to like give yourself peace of mind about how you ended that relationship or how you distanced that relationship, that's okay too. You can end relationships. Not everybody is good for you. A lot of people are really hurt and broken, and a lot of people are full of demons, and they won't choose Christ, and they're just not good. But that's the whole message of the gospel too. There's hope for everybody. The kindness and the love that you show could save somebody's life. I kid you not. I'm just gonna give an example. This isn't something that was life-saving to me, but I was having a bad day at work, and just this one employee who walks by, always smiling, always sweet, for I don't know whatever reason, was just like, you can do it today. Like, you've got this today. Something as simple as that, and it hit me right in the heart, and I was like, what? He doesn't usually say that. Like, God works through people. God works through people, and I just needed that. So if you can just be that light, a little bit of vulnerability, a little bit of love in someone's life, you really have no idea how much it could encourage and change them, because when God uses you, it does more than you know. It does more than you know. It could be one word you said that saved somebody else's life. Communication is so valuable and so needed in this world, and I'm just really passionate about sharing this with you guys, so I really hoped it helped. Give me feedbacks in the comments. Reach out to me if you have any questions about communicating or whatnot. But I love you guys. Stay vulnerable. Stay loved. Talk soon.